Thank you, Nachman and Frida, for all your support for hosting the second annual fundraiser in support of Makor. Thank you to my brother Jack, who believed in this concept from its very, very first discussion with me. Danny Ben Horn and Claudia Sade, thank you so much for your recent help and support in making everything happen. Thank you, my wife Molly, and my kids who've heard me speak about addiction over and over for the last 20 months and have a good education in the area. And of course, I want to do a special thank you to our unnamed founding member of Makor. Because of the phone call that you made to me those years ago, all of these people are being helped. I just want to ask people in the tent, I know it's hard to hear me, the people in the tent, there are a lot of seats around the tables next to the pool, if you'd like to sit there. Several years ago, I had a spiritual experience in the basement of a church. It's when I answered the call of the founding member of Makor to take him to an AA meeting. A few minutes later, we were in Avenue M in East 29th Street in the basement of the church, and I met some of the most humble, some of the most caring, some of the most honest, some of the most kind people in my life. And as I sat in the basement of the church, tears came to my eyes because I saw something that Hashem would want for all of humanity. For people to be able to treat each other with non-judgmentalism, with caring, kindness, and curiosity and compassion. Rabbi Twersky, Zichrono Libracha, says that the people in recovery are some of the best people he knew. Why, you ask? Why are people who are in recovery some of the best people he knew? It's because 40 days from today, we will all sit in synagogue, in knis, in shul, and pray our hearts out on Rosh Hashanah, Yom Hadin, Judgment Day. And for another 10 days during Aseret Yemei Teshuvah, we will all dig deep to return to the people we know we could be. And then we have Yom Kippur. What happens after Yom Kippur that morning? What do you do? Where do you turn? Do you return to the person you knew you could be, or do you continue in the habits that you had before Rosh Hashanah? People in recovery, ladies and gentlemen, wake up every day living the process that we only live 10 days out of the year. They take their recovery day by day, trying to be the best people they could be. They don't get a day off. The inner work that each person in recovery does, the daily inventory, make them amazing people. Over the last 20 months, since I began teaching Torah to people in recovery, I have learned a lot about addictions. But I have learned more about pain. Gabor Mate, a cutting-edge addiction specialist who happened to be Jewish, working in Canada, the author of a famous book called Hungry Ghost, says that when he meets people, he no longer asks, why the addiction? When he meets people, he asks, why the pain? Thank you, Gedale. Unfortunately, in the 1980s, when I grew up, there was a war on drugs. And very soon, that became a war on people who use drugs. And that is a sin, and that is a crime. I can tell you, and many people in the crowd know me personally, that as a community rabbi who have worked with both Sephardim and Ashkenazim, not one person wants to be a slave to an addiction. Not one person I meet. Whether it's food, drugs, alcohol, gambling, sexuality, not one person wants to be that way. They would do anything to get rid of the torment that these addictions pose. No one wants to self-isolate and be alone. No one wants to destroy a family. Nobody wants to destroy a business. On the contrary, these people who are in recovery are seekers. They are more creative. They are more ingenious. They are more caring. They are more sensitive. They see the world for what it could be instead of what it is. They see injustice and fakeness all around them. Some people in recovery got into addictions because they were self-medicating from traumas that I can't even possibly describe to you tonight, those traumas, some of which we heard about recently in our community, those traumas that go to the depth of terrible, tormenting pain. So they self-medicate. These men and women who fight for the recovery every day seek to rewire and reframe old ways of looking at the world. The trouble is, ladies and gentlemen, that 95% of the people in recovery relapse within the first 5 years. The overdose rate just last year was up 30%. And we have lost many to the scourge of fentanyl. Why? Why can't we get it right? How come people in treatment relapse? Why is the relapse rate 95%? It's because an IOP, an intensive outpatient, an outpatient, an OP, a treatment center, therapists are all fantastic. But they are all based on a single view of Western medicine, where they only treat and speak to the mind or speak to the body. Only 2/3 of what we know makes and constitutes a human being: mind, body, and soul. Weekly therapist meetings are great, but they only last an hour. Detox centers, rehab facilities, treatment centers are good at getting people clean, but they are limited in keeping people clean, and that's where Makor comes in. Baruch Hashem. Really, praise be God, that we have seen a rise in mental health awareness in the Jewish community, specific in our community with the great organizations that we have. What makes Makor unique is that we work in this space where the mind, body, and soul intertwine. We work in a space where the mind, body of the soul intersect. We take into account that the Torah, rabbinic wisdom, have been dealing with these issues of pain for thousands of years and have been telling us in the open and in the sod and in the secret how to remedy those issues. With concepts like emunah and bitachon, like you'll hear from Gedale. With concepts like hashgacha, tikva, and musar and hasidut. According to our faith, we recognize that man is not alone in his suffering. Emo anochi basara. I am with you in your suffering, Hashem says to Moshe when the people are in Egypt. God says He is the healer. He is the healer of those who have the broken hearts. In Judaism, you are never alone. In Judaism, you don't have to rely on yourself in therapy to get better. In Judaism, you could reach up and you could reach out. You can reach up to God for assistance, and you can reach out to your friends for support. The Torah and spirituality are a much-needed layer of support in addition to other types of therapy and modalities. The Makor Center is a possible layer of support to ongoing treatment in other ways. Spirituality helps man understand his purpose. Spirituality helps man understand his mission and his meaning in life. The opposite of addiction, ladies and gentlemen, is not sobriety. The opposite of addiction is connection. The opposite of addiction is connection, not sobriety. Connection to others, connection to your family, connection to your responsibilities, connection to your community, but most important, connection to yourself, and even more important, connection to the spark of Hashem that dwells inside you. Makor provides those in recovery with the support to reconnect to all of these, hopefully reducing the relapse and saving lives. Because in you is the source of life, O God, and by your light can I see light. Through our Torah classes, our support groups, our one-on-one learning, our guest speakers, we help our members reconnect. The founding principle of Makor is that a God-centered life leads to a healthier, more meaningful, and more purpose-driven life. I will end with an anecdote. The most recent member of Makor came over to me after a class 3 weeks ago. We have classes on Monday nights. I finished a class. We share our stories, we share support, and then we eat some dinner and we hang out on the couches until sometimes 11 o'clock, 11:30. And he comes over to me and he tells me, I'm a year into recovery. At 13, I was abused by a student in the older class on a Shabbaton. At 17, I became a heroin addict. And I had no one to speak to for years and years and years until now. He's 31. He says, I did not know this place existed. I said it didn't until recently. He said, thank you for having it, and he was actually here tonight, but I will not point him out.